What is going on, everybody? Good morning on a Sunday. This is United vs. Everybody. I am your host, Sean, and yes, we are a little earlier than we usually go. We're a little, just we usually do in the evening, but it is what it is. It's the weekend. We can free ball it. It's all good. Plus, I may be joining on another stream later on tonight, so I wanted to make sure I had some time to do that as well as get my own stuff out there and kind of see some of you guys, the regulars. I know super quiet yesterday. Apologies for that. Was at a funeral yesterday. And apologies if I cough because it's a combination of allergies and apparently there's like wildfires in Canada, which is affecting the air quality here in Michigan. So it's not good air quality. So I can feel it in my throat. But we are back for another Man United News Roundup. Hope you guys are having a good weekend. Hope you guys' Sunday morning is going nice and easy. Let me know in the chat what you guys got up to this weekend. If you guys did anything fun, exciting. But yeah, we're talking rumors, we're talking news, we're talking stadium, we're talking Sesko, we're talking amorim, we're talking Garnacho, doing scout reports. I did do a post in the community tab on scouting reports, just trying to gauge everybody's kind of where they're at with the scouting reports. Because, I love to do them, but sometimes, I'm wondering if people want them as part of the normal streams, if they want just a dedicated stuff for the scouting reports, if you want me to separate those by position and just hold off on doing one video like I did. Remember all the strikers the other week, something like that. We'll do one on young defenders, one on young center back, whatever you want to do. So get involved in that. Maybe you guys just don't like them. I know somebody said they don't like them, so they don't want to do anymore. So it is what it is. But let me know your thoughts in that, you guys. Make sure you're liking the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are new. Make sure you check the memberships out when you get a second. It is the best way to get more involved in the content that we do on the channel, whether it's scouting reports, what if episode ideas, things like that. I got more of those coming up soon. We are on their road to 3K is the big portion of that too when it comes to subscribers. We're only like 400 short. We get there in the next couple of weeks. We get there before we kick a ball this season. I will do a brand new giveaway of the brand new 25-26 United shirt, whatever one the winner chooses, name set, patches, whatever. We'll get it all in there. And then before we get started, it is the final day, as you can see in the pinned post in the chat, the pinned comment. Final day, 20% off on the United vs. Everybody store. I just put a brand new design out this morning. Go check it out. But it's the final day to get 20% off of everything. Brand new Mbumo shirt, the OG green and gold, the class of 92 kind of vintage style. Go check it out. Hoodies, T-shirts, hats, mugs, magnet stickers, whatever. It's all on there. Go check it out. Last day to do it, though. So big up, everyone. Let's get stuck in. You first, I always got to go check out the chat and see who's joining me. And big up, Danny B in the house. Good to see you guys, my friends. Hope everyone's doing well. Rob, how you doing, Rob? Hope everybody, let me know how your weekend's going. It's good to see everybody up, man. Danny's resting up after work. Yeah, you got back to work, man. How was the back feeling after work? Yeah, there's not really a whole lot. It's been nice weather this weekend, I'll say that. So, but hopefully, is that muffins, Danny? Are you making some muffins or are we baking something else, man? Let me know. Rob says finally found Viennetta and having some now. Interesting. I don't know what that means. Is that like something in the UK? Let me know. Frimpong, Richard, big up. Can we sign him? So it sounds like you were a big fan of Sesko, huh? Big up. Neil Pillay, welcome to the channel. Good to see some new faces. Think we're being played. Should just go for Watkins and leave it up to Sesko to dedicate his future to us. Sounds a little bit like that's what we're doing. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. You guys know how I feel about both. We've done some videos. We've talked about them over and over again. I did that full dedicated video comparing Watkins and Sesko, all that stuff. That's on the main homepage of the channel. You can go find it on there. All the details you need from numbers, percentiles, heat maps, system profile, all of it's in there. And I've made my feelings pretty known about that. I don't want to pay what Leipzig are asking for Sesko. I would do Watkins, but not for the price that Villa want. I would prefer to do some sort of a swap with Garnacho where 50 million goes both ways and we all call it square. Helps out PSR wise, but we'll see. Jay, big up, Jay. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Thank you for stopping by again. Hitting the Glazers out emoji. Yes, appreciate that. Frimpong is watching us from Ghana. Big up, Frimpong. Is that where Kudus is from? Muhammad Kudus, if I'm correct. But big up, man. Appreciate you joining me in, man. get all your friends gathered around, man. Let's get the community going. Big up, Samuel. Welcome back. I should just go and get Hayden Hackney, Santiago Jimenez, Victor Boniface. Just want everybody. Hackney, yeah, for sure. I do like Santi Jimenez. You guys know I featured him in a video a couple weeks ago on my strikers that we could also go for. He's up there for me right now with Pavlidis as well. So, but big up. Danny says, just get Hackney and Lamens done. Yeah, I don't understand why we have to do this one at a time nonsense. That's been something that I was hoping would change with the new leadership, the new owners, the new recruitment team, but it doesn't seem like it has. I just don't understand why it's a month, literally over a month for Mbeumo, and then we're like, all right, now we can go look at a striker. You could do both at once. You're allowed to do both at once. And if you can't, if you're not capable of doing that, then you shouldn't be in the position that you're in terms of if you're director of football, if you're whatever. If you're not capable of doing that, then we'll find somebody who can, because it really isn't that difficult. So Rob says these clubs all want too much money, but already want a low bodice. Yeah, they do, man. It's a different story when United come knocking. So Rob says stadium news has been dropping this morning from the newspapers. Yeah, I got some stadium news yesterday. So we're going to talk a little bit about that to kick things off. So yeah, he did go to, I haven't watched a whole lot of what Benfica have been doing in the preseason, but obviously I think he'd be a good fit for them. And I think he's kind of a good shift for them from what we've seen. Someone who's there. They got Pavlidis also, who's 25, 26. Getting someone like Rios, 24, 25. I think that's really good. I still like Orkun Kokshu, who went to Benfica from Feyenoord as well. I think he's an excellent midfielder too. Benfica, this is the thing, man. We didn't need to look at who City have in charge of scouting and recruitment and negotiation. We needed to look at who's in charge at Benfica, who's in charge at Brighton, and those are the people we should have brought to the club, because we could be having the same exact thing, man. You guys are funny. So, here's the new design. If you guys want to check out the new design in here, the Fergie time design got a little bored this morning. So this is the UVE store. So we've got all sorts of stuff. You can see this the return of the 9.5 shirt as well for the sale. I decided to bring that back for the sale. We've got the Mbeumo shirt, brand new, coming out after our new signing was confirmed. You got all sorts of stuff. You got the OG green and gold in here. And as you can see, they're all available in a lot of different styles. T-shirts, hoodies, baseball tees. I do like the baseball tees a lot. Those are fun. Crews, really good. I just got myself, where's it at? Let's see if I can find it for you. I got myself the class of 92 shirt when the sale popped up. So I got one of these guys right here. What did I get? I get it in the gray. So I've got one of these coming to me in the mail. Dylan loves this thing. You guys have seen Dylan wear it before. Pretty legit. It's got the vintage feel to it. So tons of stuff available right now in the UVE store, and tons of sales going on. So make sure you take advantage of that. It is the last day. We'll go from there. Just want to make sure I get myself set up for the next screen. So let's kick things off. As you guys are talking about the stadium, got a little bit of an update. Yesterday is when I saw them. So maybe they're hitting the papers today, but I haven't seen anything this morning. I just saw stuff yesterday, but there are some updates potentially. So Matt Hughes, who writes for The Guardian, gave us a lot of information yesterday. This is what he had to say here. We've got a bunch of slides to go through. So apparently, our plans to build a 100K seat stadium next to Old Trafford. So again, if you guys don't remember, there's a big old, basically a car park next to Old Trafford, kind of along the canal a little bit. It's full of shipping containers. That's the proposed site for the new stadium. You can see the wharf and the quays in the background here in Salford. Very nice little area. Enjoy it. But apparently this is now facing potential delay due to a standoff over the price of the land needed to begin work on the construction of the proposed ground. So interesting. We knew that the land was going to be an issue here. United have held talks with Freightliner, the haulage company that owns and operates the terminal, about buying the land, but negotiations are deadlocked due to a disagreement over the price. This sounds like a transfer saga, honestly. So the land is there. We needed it. They don't want to sell it to us for the price that we thought we were going to get. So now we're kind of in that negotiation stage here. Freightliner is seeking around $400 million for the land, with United valuing it at between 40 and 50 million. This sounds like when City go to buy a player. This player's got a 200 million release clause. City get him for like 50 million, literally every single time. Why has no one looked into that? By the way, the fact that it's just like literally clockwork, 50 million, 50 million, 50 million. Like that doesn't make sense to me. But I digress. So they're valuing it about 10 times more than what we value it at. Which, I mean, this is how you see this with players all the time, right? Ratcliffe has made it clear that United are unwilling to accept the asking price set by Freightliner's parent company, Brookfield. So this company, Brookfield, owns Freightliner, who own the land. Initial discussions are believed to have reached an impasse. Interesting stuff here. United have been hoping to begin preparatory building work by the end of this year, but failing to secure the Freightliner site will delay the start date. And I think that's the big issue here. It's probably going to push back the stadium finish by maybe, I don't know, we'll find out. But, the plan was to have it here within, a half a dozen years or so, and it's just not going to work out, I don't think. Now, moving on, Hughes says United's options at this stage would be to increase their offer, wait for the Freightliner to lower its demands, or scale back the project so that the freight terminal land is not required. So basically, scaling back the project again, so you don't need that much land to work with. You can maybe do something else. So I don't like that last option. I think that the proposed site is honestly the best. You don't have to move across the country. You don't have to move from, North London to East London, this things and that. It's right there. It's literally 100 yards away. It's not even that big a deal. I think that you just have to figure out the negotiation part. Before anyone worries, again, no, the public and the government are not paying for this. United are paying for it. So despite what, TalkSport and BBC are trying to get people to believe, don't. So before anybody starts claiming that. Finally, it is also possible that the new Old Trafford Mayoral Development Corporation, chaired by Sebastian Coe, could issue a compulsory purchase order, although that would be subject to legal challenges and would lead to further delays. Yes, sometimes things do get involved in terms of eminent domain here in the States, things like that. So it's possible that Lord Sebastian Coe, who is a big part of the whole regeneration project in the area, which includes the new stadium, isn't just focused on the new stadium. That could be a thing because the new stadium and the revenue and the tourism and all that it brings in is so closely intertwined with the whole regeneration project in this area as well. So the government and the local government do have a vested interest in this as well. So now I've seen people claim that this also could have something to do with the failed Qatari ownership bid. I don't know if you guys remember that from a couple years ago. I'm going to keep this up on the screen. So the Qatar Investment Authority, QIA, is actually very, very close with the Brookfield Corporation, who, again, like I just said, owns this Freightliner thing. And so under the table, behind the scenes, yeah, I'll admit there's a possibility that because they're so close together that maybe there's a hand in it. Maybe there's some sort of kind of issue. But the Qatari ownership bid was a private individual. It wasn't the QIA, which is also close to the QSI, which owns PSG, I believe. And so there's a lot going on. On paper, it all looks different, but on its face, it all looks very, very intertwined. Now, on top of the individual Qatari private ownership bid, the QIA was reportedly interested in United ownership years ago, but nothing ever actually materialized. So separate entity from the actual Qatari bid, but still sort of related, and now has, connections potentially to the Brookfield people. So very weird situation we find ourselves in when it comes to the stadium. And to be honest, you kind of knew that there was going to be hiccups. I've never seen anything like this go smoothly. So it doesn't, look at what Spurs ended up having. How much more did Spurs end up having to pay for their stadium after the initial price was put in? So we'll see what happens. It's just the first hiccup, and what I'm sure is going to be a long list of hiccups moving forward. Whether it's cost, whether it's just the finish. I doubt that the finished design is going to look exactly like the mock-up you see on the screen there. I think that, I like, maybe that's just wishful thinking, because I think this looks like an absolute idiot design. I know that they got like this like very, very well-respected, like esteemed guy to come in and design it. I just don't personally. Maybe it's an aesthetics thing. Maybe, some people like certain kits, some people don't. It is what it is. I love the White Tiger kit. Some people call it the Zebra kit from a few years back. Not everyone likes it. I happen to enjoy it. So what are you going to do? So, Dabasi, welcome back. Dabasi scores with ease, 6'5" and wrecks your D's. Oh boy. the posse's in here with the songs, and I'm here for it. Neo Pillay, welcome. How do I link up with you? I'm creative, dude. We could possibly make some big bucks. I don't know, man. I'm not in it for the big bucks, but I like the enthusiasm. They own the club that they're purchasing from. It's all linked, so they get preference. Yeah, it's weird how it works, man. I mean, this is business. There's always going to be something going on behind the scenes. There's always going to be this person. That's why I don't really get involved in politics. I do think that there's personal ambition, vested interest. There is a bit of agenda involved in everything. Everyone wants to get a little something out of it. What's in it, what's in their best interest, and to an extent that makes sense. I mean, that's what we're all, and to some degree, looking for, prioritizing. What's our own, self-preservation, our own interests, those kind of things. But I think that, I don't want it to drag on. I don't want to see it kind of I don't want to see a half empty or half finished stadium for the next decade. So we'll see what happens. But that was a big update that came out yesterday. Samuel says Ineos should just use their brains and regenerate Old Trafford into 150,000 seater stadium. Well, unfortunately, Samuel, I appreciate that. It doesn't sound like it is just about brains. It isn't even just about money. The problem with Old Trafford as it stands is that it's never been touched, other than some paint here and there and a new pitch about 15 years ago or so. The Glazers never did anything with it, and so structurally, just space wise, it would end up costing almost as much, and even structurally speaking, I'm not entirely sure. And if I remember, engineers were brought in the existing structures can support any sort of new additions. There's only one space you can add stuff onto, and there's a railway behind it, and so you'd have to figure that out as well. So, unfortunately, I just don't know if it's going to happen. Now, I don't mind a new stadium if that's just what we have to do with. I'm glad that it would be closer, like it's right there on site, basically. But it's not just money or brains when it comes to what we can do with Old Trafford. It's fact that sometimes it's just been neglected for too long. There's nothing you can do, unfortunately. It does look like a circus, appropriate considering the way we played last year. How many United players can you fit in a clown car? Rob says we'll probably offer these guys about $1 million a year for 400 years. Yeah, I don't know why we can't just they can't just charge us rent or something. I don't know, man. That's getting into a realm that I'm not super familiar with in terms of just how real estate and all that stuff works. But I'm sure that we'll be looking at everything. We've got a whole kind of coalition in charge of this. Gary Neville's a part of it, Lord Sebastian Coe, all these guys. So I'm sure that they're hopefully going to do their diligence. That's what the bare minimum I expect from the people involved. Like, just do your work, find creative solutions. Don't just fire people to find the money. You guys know how I feel about that kind of stuff. So, Jay says, keep Old Trafford, fix it up. It's our history. It's our home. Again, when it comes to the state of Old Trafford and the limits that we have on it, look more at the Glazers than Ineos. Ineos brought people in to look at that as an option. They had their task force looking at that as an option, and this is just what was decided. So big up Yorkshire Cowboy. Welcome back, man. We'll hope you're doing well. Neil says, clearly never built before to know that it's never that easy. The smaller things in finishing cost a lot. Probably just hand those jobs out, though, so I have no clue. Yeah. You're always going to have, unanticipated, setbacks and costs. That's just part of it. I mean, anyone who's ever owned a house, I always say there's no such thing as just one house project. You go to do one house project, it reveals several other house projects that you have to do before you can even do the original one that you wanted, and then end up spending more money and all this stuff. It's just part of it. It's life, dude. So, love the tablecloth kit. Yeah, I've got that one hanging up over here. That was a fun one. We do love it because it was the last time we won the league, right? So it works out nicely. So, Rob says, shouldn't they have checked these things before announcing a new stadium? They did. If you're talking about, you're talking about the price. Well, again, the issue was that the price was valued at one point, and then the company Freightliner is saying, about 10 times more. And so, again, it's the first little potential hiccup in what I'm sure is going to be a lengthy list of hiccups. But what are you going to do? Danny says, just restore it or rebuild it. Yeah, like I said, I would love it if, we would put in the extra money to do that. The problem with that is you have to basically shut it down while you're doing that. and because just for safety reasons alone, like, and then where are we going to play? It's not like there's a place nearby. No one really wants to go share a stadium with the city, right? Alternate between home and away games. No one wants to do that, and there's no place really nearby, and we can't afford really to go downsize because we have season tickets and stuff like that. I'm sure maybe in a couple of years we could revisit that if that's an option, but you've got 70,000+ people, many of whom the tickets are literally sold out the day they go up for sale. It's near impossible to relocate that many people, the season ticket holders and all that stuff. And so it's just hard. It really is. And I don't envy anyone who's on this task force. I don't envy Ineos in that regard when it comes to figuring out the solutions, but that's not my job. They're paid a lot of money to figure this out, and so they need to do it. So Neil says it cannot. It can be turned into a hotel, though. It's beyond a rebuild, according to reports. The best they can do is reinforce existing structures. Yeah, I think once we get the new stadium, my preference would be to see the women's team and the academies share Old Trafford for their matches. You don't have to keep it to the same capacity. You could turn some of the upper tiers into like restaurants, little like suites, office building, whatever you want to do. You could do a lot of museums. You can put more museums in there and whatnot. But I'm sure a lot of that is going towards the new stadium. But it'd be nice to have all of it kind of happen in one area. The academy, the women's team, the first team. You could turn maybe part of the Old Trafford into dorms for the youngsters if you needed to. I don't know. You guys figure it out. So Devasi says rebuilding Old Trafford would be close to building a new one. Yeah, that was the thought. The cost involved, because you have to close it down. So not only are you spending money, you're losing money to have to do that because you're getting rid of some of that match day revenue. Big up, Kai. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a good weekend. Guys, make sure you're hitting that like button. Make sure you're subscribed if you are new. Remember, it is the final day for 20% off in the United vs. Everybody store. There is a link pinned in the chat as well. So Matthias says swap deal is stupid. Swap deal for Garnacho and Watkins. I think that's what I mentioned, swap deal. Why is it stupid, Cunha? Let me know. And are you going to start tonight? Let me know, Cunha. Big up, Teresa. Good to see you again. If the land is going for $40 million, in my opinion, it's cheaper to demolish Old Trafford and rebuild it. Well, that's the demand right now as it stands. Reporting, according to Matt Hughes with The Guardian. What that final price will end up being is anyone's guess, but maybe it'll be a lower price and then a certain amount of money per year after that. I don't know. It's not my job to know, but I'm just talking about what has been reported. So let's see. Mateus says Hojlund is a young player. He can, but even then he could come good. He really could, but we can't only rely on him right now because he never should have been our only striker to begin with. It wasn't really fair to him, and I've said that many, many times, but I think that he would benefit from some competition. He would benefit from not being so young and carrying all that pressure on his own. So, like I said, a $50 million on paper swap, Garnacho going one way and Watkins going the other, wouldn't be the worst thing. I really don't value Sesko that highly personally, but it is what it is. Everybody's got a different opinion. Usman, welcome back. Usman, big up, man. Good to see you again. Hope you're doing well. Hope the family is doing well. And yes, Rob, thank you. Hit those like and subscribe buttons, United fans. Please do. It is the road to 3K. If we get there before the first match of the season, I will do a brand new giveaway. 25-26 shirt of your choosing to the winner, name, set, whatever you want. We'll hook you up with the Carabao Cup patches if that is your fancy. So, let me know your final thoughts on the stadium. I'm going to move this on to my next little bit here because we do have some more Sesko updates, and some of these updates that came out over the weekend involved Rasmus Hojlund as well. So we got another Sesko update because we haven't had enough of those already last week. So wasn't in the squad for Leipzig's friendly. Florian Plettenberg claims he's already told his teammates that he's leaving this summer. Let me get this put up over here. This was the update that came out from Romano yesterday, that Leipzig have requested Rasmus Hojlund as part of their negotiations with Manchester United for Benjamin Sesko. So that is interesting stuff. We saw that was mentioned the other day that Leipzig really like Hojlund, that there was a chance that we try to offer a player in exchange for Sesko to kind of maybe lower that cost a little bit. They're losing a striker. Maybe they would want to get a striker. They're very similar players in the way they play. I think Sesko is probably a little bit more polished in and around the box. But in terms of quality, I mean, where they're at now, I mean, Sesko's probably marginally better because he's got the numbers to look at it. But in terms, if you're watching, like, again, I don't think Sesko's bad. I just don't think he's necessarily automatically going to improve us, or at least move the needle in where we need to be. There's every chance he could improve and could develop. Just like someone's mentioned, there's every chance Rasmus could too. There's also every chance neither of them could improve. You never know. It's really going to be about coaching and individual player. I definitely don't want to pay $70 million for Sesko though. But apparently Sesko's agent was in Leipzig yesterday. Romano claims that Sesko, though, isn't in a rush to make a decision. He's going to be discussing his options with his agent, his friends, his family, and whatnot. And so seems like he's pretty relaxed about everything. I'm not, because there's less than 2 weeks left, or like 2 weeks left till we kick off the season. So I'd like to see people brought in and hit the ground running. My preference, like I said, was to have the bulk of our business done before the preseason tour, but that's not going to happen. Romano also added this: I can confirm that when Manchester United contacted Leipzig about Sesko, they said, okay, give us Hojlund as their new striker and part of the negotiations. So this is not only a possibility that Leipzig like Hojlund. Romano claims that they literally said, give us Hojlund in exchange as well. That's interesting because Romano said, he makes sure to say no one at United has told Hojlund you need to go or anything. This is just the stuff. This is the kind of stuff that gets brought up in negotiations. But remember, Hojlund was pretty adamant after that friendly the other day where he opened the goal scoring. Like, he doesn't want to leave. He wants competition. He loves it. He's not going anywhere. And so it would be really interesting to see how this is going to play out. What are you guys saying into the chat here? Big up. Is Hayden Hackney hijack BS? It feels a little like BS. We spoke about that the other day in the Don't Give Me Hope segment. We do those every now and then now. It does feel a little bit like just nonsense. I wouldn't mind it if it was true, but we'll see what's going to happen there, Danny. Like, you guys know I do like Hayden Hackney. There are plenty of midfielders out there, though. As much as I like Hackney, I think that I lean more towards Hackney just because he provides a lot of what we need. And I think that obviously playing in the championship is good. I like that he's used to playing against the kind of competition he's going to see in the Premier League. I wish that Carrick were still manager. Maybe that would hook us up, but we'll see. But we talked about the other day. I'm not going to say it's BS. It just doesn't really, it just feels like media talk to us, but it is what it is. Samuel thinks Arsenal, West Ham sold their football stadiums, and there's current football stadiums are nothing to write home about. Yeah, it is more about just the aesthetics these days. We'll see what happens with the stadium. Jay is demoralized with the stadium talk. We kind of knew it was going to happen at some point. And again, it doesn't mean I like it necessarily. I'm just quicker to just accept these kind of things. It's just, this is the way it is. My preference, you guys know, would always been to keep Old Trafford, just fix it up. Unfortunately, I just don't think it makes sense to do that anymore from a financial standpoint, even from a safety standpoint. So, Wes says United bid for Sesko. You guys are funny. Yeah, hijack would be great for Hackney, Rob. I just don't know if it makes sense. I'm not sure if Erasmus loan makes sense personally. Does a Hojlund going on loan make sense for anybody? I think that if Hojlund were to leave, it would be difficult because we already need a striker with Hojlund's here. We're already looking for a striker. If he leaves, does that mean we have to get another striker to make up numbers? Or was it just about getting a better striker? I mean, Xerxes is probably going to fill in as well. Cheeto is going to be there. Cheeto's still very, very young, though, so I'm not betting the house on him either. So as long as I don't see Calvert-Lewin rocking up in a United shirt, I'm happy there. No offense to Calvert-Lewin, man. Let's see. Jay says, I'll back whoever we get, whether I want them or not. Not keen on Sesko. I don't think he's worth that much. He's an instant fix. It's a huge gamble. It is a huge, huge gamble. And unlike you, like whoever we sign, even if they're not my preferred choice, even if I don't rate them, you still back them. And I feel the same way about the players who are in the squad now, even the ones that are struggling, especially the one you always back them, you always want to support them, you always want them to improve. And the best way to do that is just support them. The whole Xerxes situation getting booed off, he came back, a little bit of a redemption arc. And I think that shows like maybe fans need to just not be so knee jerk sometimes. And I include myself in this too. I'm not trying to come at it from a soapbox or anything. Maybe we need to just back the players because that at the end of the day, you want them to get better. And if you want them to get better, booing them during a match is not going to help. So we like to think that maybe we're letting them know, we're allowed to let them know. Cool. But if at the end of the day, if you want them to get better, then like, shouldn't you support them, clap them, whatnot? Even I don't care if they miss a sitter. I don't care if they never get a touch. I don't care if they miss a pen and it costs us the final. Like, you should still clap. You should still support them. So what are you going to do? Steven, welcome back. Social media has sucked the life out of summer transfers because we track them and it's no surprise anymore when it happens. But you do things differently, so thumbs up to you, buddy. Awesome. Appreciate that. What do I do? I feel like maybe I just don't go like too hard when it comes to the rumors. Maybe I'm a little patient. I have a little bit of a filter when it comes to the sort of sources that I'm willing to give time to. Maybe that's different. I'm not saying that's better or worse. Like I said many times, maybe it's a little boring, but it's just me. It is what it is. So Rob says maybe the land seller is Glazers out. Yeah, maybe it's owned by a United fan who's just, maybe they've moved on to FC United of Manchester now, and now they're like, fuck off, we're not selling you anything. Oh man. Debasi says big risk, bigger rewards. Potentially, you never know. I just don't think like Hojlund, like Sancho, like Anthony, it is a risk, and he's young, and even if it does work out, you're probably not going to ever see that money ever again. If it does work out, cool, you've got a striker for the next 10 years, but hopefully, but it is a big risk. And so I think there are lower cost options out there in terms of strikers that are not necessarily a downgrade in quality. I did a video on that a couple weeks ago. You can go check those out as well. Danny says, we need something to pay off because we've had no luck the last 10 years. We've pissed so much money. Yeah. The amount of players that we've taken risks on that have worked out is a lot smaller than the amount of players who worked out. We've got Bruno. We can list them all. Bruno, do we count Licha? He's been injured most of his United career so far. Mazraoui, maybe. De Ligt is proven out to be a pretty good one now. Ahmad, maybe we can count Ahmad, but he was on loan for most of his United career, technically almost. So it's like, it is difficult. Dorgu is looking like a gem so far. Euro probably up there as well. Euro is probably the one that I could think of that was a big financial risk that is paying off. Like that to me was fine. So Neil says we need a therapist to condition the players' mental health. The human race is not that good with the positive vibes. The average sport fan is known to be on the lower end of the intelligence scale. Interesting. Well, I can help you out with the first part because I am a mental health professional, but I can't help you with the human being part. I can't change the way people are. That's just, it is what it is. I'm lump myself in that category as well. But yes, I am a mental health professional. Nothing I say should be taken as mental health advice, please. I've been told that I need to say that. So, but yeah, so it is hard. It is hard. Social media is definitely I think it does make things worse sometimes. I think there's too much just reactionary stuff on social media, but it is what it is. So recapping that little segment, Leipzig asked for Hojlund as part of a swap deal. Hojlund wants to stay. He's literally come out on camera this past weekend, said he wants to stay. So separately speaking, Ben Jacobs reported yesterday that Newcastle have now made an official offer to RB Leipzig for Sesko as well. So Newcastle not out of the race quite yet. The offer was $65.5 million plus $4.5 million in add-ons, so bringing that to $70 million total. That's pounds. A record fee for Newcastle when it comes to buying a player as well, more than what they paid for Isak. And if that means that they think Sesko is better than Isak, then somebody at that club needs to go get an MRI, because the fees for average strikers or strikers who are young with like one decent season, Ekitike, these fees are ridiculous. I'll even put Hojlund in that category as well, because 60 million, 62 million, whatever it was, way too much for Hojlund. Like probably twice what we really should have paid it for if we're coming down to it. Hojlund should have been 45 million tops, including add-ons. Like, that's ridiculous what we paid for Hojlund. We got absolutely fleeced on that one. And I'm not saying that just because of last season. I'm saying that just in general. He had one half decent season as a young teenage striker in the Italian league, coming on for an experienced season striker who was dealing with an injury. It wasn't like Hojlund was the first choice at Atalanta because he was just the best and brightest. He was first choice because they had injuries, and then he kind of took his chance and kind of forced his way into it. But he should never have been our top striker. And 62 whatever million we paid is ridiculous. But that's beside the point. Ornstein obviously updated us, said that bid has been rejected. According to Romano, we have now informed Leipzig once again over the weekend that we will put an offer for Sesko if he chooses us. So this is interesting, though. I don't know what's going on there. So, and then the other thing too is I saw that Lois Openda, Sunderland were interested in Lois Openda as well, who is Leipzig's other striker. Like, Leipzig kind of moved to a bit of a front two this past season, which is why Sesko's profile and the way he plays has changed a little bit. I doubt RB Leipzig are going to want to lose both strikers. So this could be down to not only what Sesko wants, but also maybe which striker gets sold first. Because if they sell Openda, they're not going to want to sell Sesko for cheap. And so what are you going to do there? Let me get caught up on the chat here. Hesty, welcome back. Hesty says the fans also need therapy after this transfer windows. It helps if you just kind of treat it like floating down a river. Like, you can't really do anything about it. You just kind of enjoy the ride a little bit and see where it goes. And then you can talk about it as we do it. But I've learned to try not to get too hyped about who I want us to sign, try not to get too upset about who we missed out on. I learned that a while ago because it's just going to make it worse. It's kind of like managers when they make choices with team selection and systems and whatnot. The people in charge are going to make their decisions on the targets, all that kind of stuff, and they're going to live or die by that. And so it is what it is. We can give criticism, but be sure to come back when the window wraps up, because Dylan and I will be doing a transfer window rating and giving our season expectations and whatnot. We'll do a big fun show for that. So big up, Hesty, though. Welcome back. Neil says American fans waking up at 3 a.m. for those games last season. Well, I never woke up at 3 a.m. I'm sure in some parts of the country they did. But yeah, some of the earlier kickoffs were a bit rough, but I'm already up anyway. So I've got 2 dogs, so we're up at 5. So what are you going to do? Yeah, I don't watch Rant's channel, so I don't know. I don't know what he said. So if you say it, I'll do it. I don't like to talk too much about other channels on. You guys can do whatever you want, but I usually don't. I've spoken about United Stand a couple times, but mostly just because I get tired of the guys just whining. Everything is always because we got Ineos and not the Qatari bid. That's literally what every single argument comes down to on that channel, and it's just does my head, and it's so tiresome and it's so miserable. And I'm just so tired of it, but I don't watch the channel a whole lot, so it is what it is. So, Debasi thinks Watkins overrated. Mateta has only had one half decent season, and it was last season, and the guy's 28. And so that doesn't fill me with a ton of confidence personally. I'm not saying 28 is old. I'm saying if you're 28 as a striker by the time you have one half decent season, I don't know how I feel about that. So, Newcastle, though, they kind of laid down a marker with that offer that they put in. 70 million package for Sesko is a big, big package. I can't see us necessarily matching that, even if it is what Leipzig want. But again, 2 factors to consider with this kind of stuff. What Leipzig want is one, but then you also got to look at what Sesko wants. If he wants United and he doesn't want Newcastle, and we are serious, then it's not over yet, because I do think at the end of the day, he would wait. And I do think at the end of the day, I mean, not saying he's going to wait forever, but I'm saying if there's interest from us and we're trying to put together the pieces, I do think that he would probably choose us over Newcastle, because everybody seems to do that this summer. But if United really wants Sesko too, all they need to do also is just, again, point out the players who have left Newcastle, point out the players who are choosing to come to United over Newcastle, and just say, there's a reason. Like, come on. If Leipzig do want Hojlund, that could help us as well. We have a little something to offer. Newcastle don't really have that necessarily. So that could work out too. I could easily see like Anthony going to Leipzig as well. We have players that we can offer to kind of soften that blow a little bit. If I had to choose though, between Watkins, like a Watkins and Garnacho swap, and like getting Sesko for 70 million package, I'd definitely still go for the Watkins Garnacho swap. I'm not saying that Watkins is my first choice out of all the strikers in football. He's not. But for what you're getting and the potential that could help us with PSR, I mean, it crosses a few items off those lists. Garnacho is gone. That's jet to check. PSR boost to maybe help. Also, we get a striker on paper for almost free necessarily, but that PSR boost of like 50 million could help us, when it comes to maybe getting a midfielder, maybe getting Sen Lamens as well. And we get a striker. So we're checking a lot of boxes with that deal as well. It does help us. That's the kind of creativity I'd like to see a little bit. So, but we'll see what happens with all of that. I've seen some people question how we're able to secure some of these big signings amidst all the reported financial struggles that we have. We're led to believe going into this that, the club was running very low, that we are in a sell to buy. I still do think in many ways we are in a bit of a sell to buy. It's not like we've spent 120, 130 million on Cunha and Buemo. We've amortized that. We spread that out. The fee structure does help. We've saved wages on with Rashford's salary. We got some sell-on clause money. We're getting some money for these tournaments. We did that postseason tour, got a little cash from that. We're doing this Premier League Summer Series bullshit. We're getting a little cash from that as well. Elanga, Alvaro, sell-ons, that helps. All that makes a big difference as well. So, but then Amorim also had this to say as well, kind of towing the party line a little bit, saying we're always looking to improve the team. We have some characteristics that we would like to have. It depends on the market, on the sales. So again, kind of reiterating what we've been saying for a while. We saw going into the summer, we had, the whole talk was we had all these different contingencies, all these different plans. One plan for if we won the Europa League, another plan for if we didn't, sell to buy, all these kind of things. Like we don't want to go crazy. We don't want to run to the wrong solution. We don't want to overpay and things. When it comes to selling players, if we get the money that we're looking for, great. If not, I'm ready for them to be part of the squad. We've seen all the little kind of face-saving PR kind of fluff stuff. It is what it is, but that's what Amorim had to say in an interview this weekend. What are you guys saying? The boss says Star Wars or Star Trek. Not really big into either, personally, if I had to guess. If I had to make a decision now. Never watched any Star Trek TV shows. I've seen the movies that came out in the last decade, so I've seen all of those, but I've probably seen more Star Wars stuff, but I think maybe because there just is more Star Wars stuff. I don't know, but honestly, I'm not really a huge sci-fi guy. The closest I get to really being into sci-fi is the show Firefly, which is one of my favorite shows, even though it did get canceled after one season because Fox is stupid. But that's the extent of my my sci-fi stuff. So Neil says they're not waking up early when finishing their meals or waiting for the last person to finish. Oh, big up. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about some of that too, because there's been some cultural shifts we've seen in the club that Amorim has spoken about as well. So a lot of stuff to talk about today. So on player sales, though, as Amorim kind of ends that there. So you guys, let me know what you think about what Amorim's comments are. I'll put it back on the screen so you guys can see. At least I'm not yawning a whole lot. You guys know it's been a long week. This week, dog got surgery on Monday, so I've been on the couch with her at night, and she was so uncomfortable, and she's on all these medications for the first couple nights that I barely got any sleep. Last night was the first good night of sleep I've got since Tuesday. It's been ridiculous. It does feel good. Yeah, he's also showing him where they went wrong. Yeah, I saw there's a lot of comments today. And to me, though, Neil, that shouldn't be something that's new. Like, that's just something I would have thought would be like the norm when it comes to coaching. Like, hey, let's look back at the footage. Let's break it down. We saw that even in that Arsenal doc, All or Nothing. Spoiler alert, nothing Arsenal. We saw that in there as well. Probably spent more on whiteboards and pickpockets than anything. So, but yes, player sales. One player sale potentially we could be hoping to make happen is Antony. So apparently his number one fans, Real Betis, despite all their best efforts to downplay their financial couth, and despite after getting some good fees for a couple players, they've also just signed a midfielder from a Liga MX side. So they picked up this guy, Nelson Diosa, for like 10 million or something. So they're buying players and they've sold players. We know how much Real Betis have. We know that they've got money. They're fine. Anthony can take a pay cut if he wants to. He can do whatever he wants to do if he wants to go back there. But if he like, I don't know what I don't get what players think sometimes. Am I just going to run down my contract? Like if you have an attitude problem, we're not going to play you. It's just simple as that. We saw that with Rashford. It just is what it is. Anthony, I don't think is a player who's had an attitude problem. I just think he's a player who doesn't suit what we're trying to do. But we do need to get some money for him. I do think that. What have you guys saying in this poll here? Who wins the Sesko race? So far, 71% of you say Man United, 11% say Newcastle, 13% say RB Leipzig will keep him, 5% of you say someone else. If you think someone else might get him, let me know who that might be. Thank you, Neil. Now, she's good, man. She just she had ACL surgery. So she got a little tiny tear in her ACL like 6 years ago, and she's been fine since. Like there are periods here and there for the last 6 years where she would kind of aggravate it. But then like 2 months ago, she just completely tore it. And so had to get surgery. So health-wise, she's fine. She's just going to take a little bit of time to recover. But she got sleep last night for the first time too. So that's probably a big part of it too. So I'm probably a little too hyper-vigilant when it comes to the dogs. It's just, they've been very stressful dogs. They both have had their health issues. So how do you feel about this though? Amorim kind of towing the party line a little bit, kind of making sure to throw in that little depends on player sales, depends on the market. I mean, we've heard that before, there's no value in the market kind of a thing. Depends on what's out there. We've been linked to a lot of players. The striker market's definitely not as saturated with top tier quality as I would say. They're the top two are going to be the two victors, and then everyone else is tier 2 or below, in my opinion. So, and that's even if you I don't even count guys like Isak in there because I didn't assume that they're going to be on the market. We can't afford Isak anyway. But again, just making sure to remind us that hey, we do have to sell some players. The market is what it is, and we'll see what happens. Business isn't done yet, though, according to Amorim. So, but yeah, Real Betis, don't know what's happening there. Sticking with wingers, potentially on their way out. Fabrizio Romano claims, I'm going to move this over. There you go. Claims that Alejandro Garnacho has made Chelsea his priority destination this summer. And apparently, even more so, Garnacho has apparently liked an Instagram post linking him to a move to Chelsea because apparently Garnacho just doesn't understand like what is like I don't get this kid, man. Like you literally have gotten into so much of your issues at United have literally been because of social media posts, and this is the kind of stuff you do. Like this is why you're out of the squad. This is why you're not in the plans. This is why you're part of the fraud five who just need to not be involved because of stuff like this, dude. And again, it doesn't help us. I can't imagine clubs that would be interested in him after this. I still can't understand why Jadon Sancho gets interest the way his attitude has been so piss poor over the years. Like, what is this kid doing, man? I just don't get it. What do you guys? I mean, I don't know if you guys saw that news or not, but I read that and I just like you have to laugh because it's just like, dude, like, what are you doing, man? This is embarrassing. I need to move some slides around. Hold on one second for me. But yeah, it's a bit embarrassing, the kind of stuff that we have to deal with from these players sometimes, whether it's Rashford's Henry Winter interviews, Sancho's social media activity after Ten Hag's situation, and then Garnacho, all his shit that we've had to deal with this year from him. And even just from day one, Garnacho, when Ten Hag arrived, it was just late to the first team meeting, which did not really send a good message. Got disciplined. Bruno came out and talked about that, if you guys remember that one as well. Garnacho really not doing himself any favors. And this is just another example of that personally. So are you mad about that? Do you not care? Are you just completely done with him in your mind? What are you guys saying here? Samuel says, United should sell Harry Maguire, Xerxes Mount, AC Milan. Well, easier said than done to sell players. Maguire, he's on the last year of it? Going to be exercised like a 1-year thing, so I doubt he'll be going anywhere until I'd see Maguire running out his contract more than I see anything. I almost see him getting another year on that contract at the end of next summer, just so we don't have to go buy another defender, because you've got Heaven and Fredrickson, who are very young, so I don't know necessarily if we can count on them yet or count them. Licha, still a question mark. So I don't see us easily letting go of Maguire for free if Leach's issues still remain. If these youngsters don't necessarily kick on, I see us maybe exercising another 1-year extension on that personally. But we'll see. I'm not the club, so I'm not saying it's what I want. I'm just saying that's what I easily see happening. So Neil says, time to sell, brothers. So talented players. Imagine if everyone behaved in the last 10 years. Could have won more, being set up to compete with Madrid, yeah. Or if, the club had just started a rebuild properly after Ferguson retired instead of just this whole scattergun, knee-jerk, reactionary approach that we've seen over and over again, overpaying and like sacking managers if we had just done things properly just once at any point in time, back managers, had a plan, any of that, just who knows? But you almost have to not think about it because it's only going to make you mad. Samuel says United should sell Garnacho for $40 million. $40 million is what you're saying, huh? I'm not having that personally. Because we know what Chelsea have spent, not only this summer, but in other summers. Anything less than what they spent on Bino Gittins this summer is an absolute insult. Really, anything less than what they paid for Mykhailo Mudryk is a piss take already, because they paid a lot for Mykhailo Mudryk, and he's nowhere near Garnacho. And so it's like 55 million is probably where the conversation needs to start. I'd be willing to go down to 50 up to like 55, 57 with add-ons, but there's no way that they're going to get him for 40 million. Is ridiculous. Danny says Slav and even Leach need to go by next summer. Leach needs to show us something and stay fit. Yeah. And unfortunately, I feel the same about Leach, and it sounds harsh, but it's kind of like the feeling I get with Luke Shaw. It's nothing personal against Luke Shaw. On its face, I just can't rely on him to stay fit. Now, Leacha, it's hard. Even harsh on Shaw to an extent, because that first big injury was that leg break. But we've also seen him come back in like 22, 23 and have great seasons. But Leacha's first couple injuries at this club were major contact injuries. And when you're out for so long, you are going to see the other potential stuff possibly get more problematic in terms of like the ACLs and the hamstrings and whatnot, just because of the time out, the rust buildup, the time there, all that stuff. We've seen players come back from cruciates and do just fine. And honestly, his recovery has been a lot quicker than I would have ever hoped. I was planning on him being done till like early November at the very soonest with this ACL stuff. Doesn't sound like it was horrible. And I have to keep reminding myself, technology. It's just literally like my dog. When we went 6 years ago, when she initially tore it, the procedure that they were talking about was one procedure, and that was going to be a long time and physical therapy. Since then, new procedure, couple weeks of like no activity. They even told me like you can start walking her around a little bit in short spaces, but in a couple months, she's going to be fine. So much better than what it used to be. So I'm trying to remind myself of that. But I do agree that if Leach just can't kick on again, it's nothing personal. We can't rely on you to stay fit. It is what it is. I said the same thing about Varane too. Varane has barely made it to like 30 matches in a given season in all comps for the last like decade. And it just is what it is. I don't like that. Mason Mount, Luke Shaw, Phil Jones, Martial, the list goes on. Even Pogba was a bit injury prone, people forget. And so I think that I'd like to see that just ignored. And then I don't like the whole reports we got a few months back that United were trying to hire someone to come up with some sort of algorithm to predict injuries. And I said, like, the internet's right there and it's free. Why are we spending money on that? Like, why did you need to pay a body language expert $175,000 a year? Like, doesn't make sense. You can go online and find PDFs of body language. You can go on Google and Google body language. You don't need a body language expert. I mean, if you want to, I'll come in, and if you want to pay me $175K a week, and I'll tell you everything you need to know. But you probably won't like the way I say it, because I don't sugarcoat anything. Danny says Chelsea want him 60 million with sell on, then fuck him. Yeah. Like, we know exactly what you've paid. We know like what you're making. Like, go sell another hotel if you don't have the money. We'll wait. It's fine. Like, go sell another women's team. Go sell your academy to yourself for all I care, man. I don't really care. Give us what we paid for Mount and we'll call it square, right? It's ridiculous. Danny would rather let Garnacho rot in the reserves than to sell to Chelsea cheap. Yeah, and Dylan on the Kickabout. Dylan was here the other day. You guys remember? He joins me for the weekly Kickabout. Which, if you're a Legends member, you can jump on the weekly Kickabout as well and give your thoughts on a few things too. So don't forget about that. Yeah, Dylan doesn't like the idea of selling players to Premier League rivals, which I get to a certain extent. Really, it depends on if you rate Garnacho enough to worry about him doing well. Like, I didn't care if Sancho went to Chelsea because I don't rate Sancho, and clearly neither do Chelsea fans after that first match. But it doesn't really matter much to me, especially when it's a loan, because I'm like, maybe if part of you almost does hope they do well so you can get some money a little bit. We got a little money from Chelsea for Sancho, so it is what it is. Neil says, yeah, footballing decisions need to happen. It's not about favoritism. We need a solid squad. Shaw, Licha. If Ahmad goes out for half the season again, then it's worrying. Yeah, Collier's getting little injuries here and there. De Ligt, we got fortunate with De Ligt. He started to pick up a couple issues later on in the season. Mainu's had his fair share of injuries since busting into the first team about a year and a half ago after being injured. And so Yoro obviously had that foot injury. He looks fine, though. So injuries do happen. Contact injuries do happen. Aiden Heaven, Xerxes, this kind of stuff happens. It's just when they keep happening. The hamstring issues are the ones I worry about because those don't tend to go away. Douglas Luiz. A lot of people want Douglas Luiz. Got a couple hamstring injuries early on at Aston Villa. Was fine. Had a ton of hamstring issues this past season and muscle issues at Juventus, which is why I'm not so keen on Douglas Luiz. But it's not always the number. It's the nature of injuries. Some of them are worse than others. Not all injuries are created equal. So Neil says, even Mount, yeah, some players should be sold if they get injured again. Next window, we should really need some big names going. Casemiro will be gone for free next summer. Ugarte's got to show that he can consistently develop his ball progression. I think if he develops his ball progression, Ugarte, I think he'll be fine. I'm not saying that I want to rely on him forever. I'm not saying don't get a midfielder next summer, but that's really, to me, the last string to his bow. He's got the mentality. He's got the physicality. He's got the legs. I need him to just work on that ball progression and a little bit of that positioning, that kind of anticipation, front foot kind of defending instead of always having to chase people down. But I don't mind his attitude. I really don't. He reminds me of like a Licha in midfield in that regard. But Sammy says, oh, Manchester United players should do Pilates and yoga. Diamond Dallas Page. That's a blast from the past. That's funny. Rob says, we're going to win the league. Shaw believes, so I believe. All right. I like it. I don't agree with Shaw, but I hope that, obviously we hope we win the league. I just don't know that's going to happen, but big up, Rob. I always appreciate that. I wish Lionheart's here. If Lionheart's here, he'd be like swearing. I haven't seen Lionheart's in a minute. Hopefully he's doing well. So Amorim has commented on Garnacho's situation as well. This is what he had to say about Garnacho. He said Garnacho is a really talented boy. Sometimes things don't work out. You cannot explain specifically what it is. It's clear he wants a different thing with a different leadership. But I have the feeling, I think it's clear that Garnacho wants a different thing with a different leadership, and I can understand that. So I think it's not a problem. So he's basically just like, it is what it is. This is the whole political kind of thing. Anyone wanting managers to say anything different in press conferences, you have to remind yourself it's a press conference. They're going to say things like, we want the players to be back here if we don't sell them. They're going to say that stuff. That's just the way it is. I wouldn't buy too much into it, but let's see here. Yorkshire says they're a pie eating league. You guys are funny. You'll never hear me slander Luke Shaw for anything weight. I still think that even when he got a broken leg and he was in crutches, he's still in better shape than 99.9% of the people in the world. It's just the way it is. So I don't like. There are footballers who, for some reason, can be not like completely 100% cut, like 0% body fat, and they still, like Marcello was one, like Casemiro for a while, but as long as you perform, I don't care. But I think in the off season, players should be allowed to like just enjoy themselves for a hot second, as long as they're back fit and as long as they're not doing anything long term. But Luke Shaw, it is what it is. We will not have any body shaming on the channel, though. Guys, you're funny though. So training and whatnot. Speaking of that, though, Dylan sent me an article last night, or was it this morning? I don't remember. It all kind of became a blur recently. He sent me an article by James Ducker in the Telegraph highlighting some of the changes that Amorim has made to United's overall training regime and the process. So breaking down some of the differences. So where Ten Hag reportedly was holding double training sessions, Amorim has apparently kind of laxed that up a bit. He's letting the players finish training by early afternoon. It's giving them time to go hang out at the newly revamped Carrington. There's new areas in there for lounging, hanging out, games, whatnot. He's letting them wrap up, letting them go hang out, unwind, relax, interact with each other, kind of build some camaraderie. Ducker says there's still structure to all this, but it's nowhere near as rigid as it was under Ten Hag. Now, I'll admit, I do think there's still a bit of media bias when it comes to trying to find a way to blame Ten Hag for all these injuries. I do think that, remember, that was the big thing that everybody was trying to push when people were coming up injured, is that they're training too hard. Like, that's ridiculous. And I think that was a lot of media bias. I think a fair few of the players in the squad were injury prone before he arrived. And literally every manager has criticized the lack of fitness in the squad. It's one of the first things. I mean, one of the first things Amorim did was build up the fitness and address the recovery and stuff. And I don't think that Ten Hag had we'll see. It doesn't really matter to me what the media say about Ten Hag anymore. He's not here anymore. I do agree with you there, Rob. I think that Onana is definitely an anchor and will hold us back. So, yeah, you guys know how I feel about Onana. The less I said about that, that was one of my first priorities going into this summer, was replace the keeper, get a goal scorer. And we got 2 goal scorers, so I'm happy with that. Lebcon, welcome to the channel. Good to see a new face. Says, if Shaw says we're going to win the league, Leicester won the league from nowhere in the eyes of every big 6 club in the league, so let's believe it. I mean, we all want to believe we're going to win the league. We all want to win the league. You know, we go into every season saying 21 is coming, right? I'm just being a little bit more, I guess, realistic when it comes to the rebuild, because I'm not planning on rebuild. Rebuilds take time, especially ones where you're not just, finding ways to blow money and get crazy. Well, we have a lot of players we got to get rid of. This is the first time we're doing like an actual proper rebuild, it seems. So this is going to take time. You never know. At the end of the day, we could end up winning the league. If City have another bad season like they did last year, if Liverpool struggle, Chelsea, you probably want to watch out for Chelsea. Arsenal, I never worry about Arsenal just because I don't. Spurs, no, I'm never worried about Spurs either. So you could. Leicester took full advantage of a lot of the top teams just having bad years, and not taking anything away from Leicester, because they were amazing. The way they played, old school 4-4-2, Jamie Vardy breaking records. I get it, right? But a lot of big teams did struggle that season as well. And so we want to remember that too. But yeah, you never know. That's why we do love the Premier League, because on any given weekend, it could be great. Neil says Onana's got good for the mental health. I told you guys, I'm going to start sending my bill for Peacock subscription to my insurance so they can cover it for me, man. It's so freaking ridiculous. Lebcon says, is Man United still in the class of the Big Six? Of course we are. We are the Big Six. It's funny, though, they had to start calling it the Big Six because no one cares about calling it the top 4, because not everyone in the top 4 is technically top anymore. You notice when Newcastle started edging their way in and Spurs starting edging their way in the top 4, then they turn it to the Big Six, because you're never going to sit at the big kids table, you guys. Yorkshire, you guys are funny, man. Neil says Big Six squared. I like it. So yeah, Amorim making some changes, a little bit more lax, not as rigid, not as just intense in terms of just double sessions, triple sessions, quadruple sessions. Like, we can chill a little bit. I do think that Ten Hag was a little bit almost legalistic, to the point of just when, like, this is how much recovery, this is how much time it takes when you join in the summer to get used to the system, this and this and this. And I'm like, not like, it's just, yeah, there's got to be room for a bit of freedom, a bit of just spontaneity, a bit of individuality and creativity and whatnot, and room for just relaxing now and then, even fun, God forbid. And I think that football has gotten away from that a little too much, as managers like Pep and whatnot are kind of like almost erasing a lot of that individuality from the game, and making it almost very too calculated and formulaic. I mean, you literally, like, this is the blade of grass you stand on when this happens, kind of thing. It's just annoying. I think we're looking too much as players as like components that need to do this, that, in order for them to work for the system, rather than looking at what they bring individually as well. So, but that's just me. Soapbox over. Let's do a scouting report, shall we? Mahrez, isn't he in the Saudi league now? I don't remember. Someone remind me where Vardy was. So, Kai, welcome. We'll sign Vardy then. I mean, I posted the other day, don't know if it was on here, it was on Twitter or something, like, Jamie Vardy for striker coach. Who says no? Like, who would want to take Jamie Vardy as the striker coach? Like, We don't need him to play. He can come be striker coach. I wouldn't rely on him, but that would be the kind of thing that if the Woodward and guys were still here, you'd see us be all over that. But I'd be all for him on the striking staff personally. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. And remember, last chance for 20% off in the United vs. Everybody store. Let's do a scouting report because I want to wrap this up while we do this. So talk a little bit about the center midfielder that I've been watching. Danny, you let me know what you think of this guy. You might know a little bit more about him than I do. I've been keeping an eye on him for a little bit and just wanted to talk about this guy, Gabriel Bontempo. Plays for Santos over in Brazil. Center midfielder, young, 20 years old, 5'11", decent height. Very, very good midfielder. Good all-around midfielder. He's kind of like a Coop Miners, kind of like an Ezekiel Palacios, this kind of midfielder, or like a McAllister, I guess, maybe profile. Not like, yeah, he's as good, but profile. All-arounder, Douglas Luiz's kind of guy, João Gomez kind of profile. Versatile. He can play a lot of different midfield positions. I've seen him play a 6, 8, even seen him playing like a 10 here and there. Good chance creation, very good on the ball, very press resistant in key areas. And he's got really good positioning, really good awareness of his surroundings. He recently broke into the Santos first team picture this past January, but is already making his mark in the Brazilian league. He's a very tidy, very modern, but also very physically adept center midfielder. He carries the ball. He creates chances. He can pick a pass. He wins duels. He puts in a defensive shift. The guy does a lot. So obviously he's just been in January, so his heat map's not going to be as fully fleshed out as it would be if you start every week. You can kind of get an idea of what he's doing. It looks a little bit like almost like a box-to-box situation. So he's kind of just inside his own half and then in that kind of middle third area on both ends of the pitch. But he does a little bit of everything. So look at some of these numbers. Excellent, like I said, good tackles, very good interceptions. You guys know how I feel about interceptions. Top 3 percentile. He's an interception machine. He was literally 11th. He's literally 11th in the league right now for interceptions per 90. So he's doing a very, very good job. And as I've said, when you see a lot of interception numbers, to me, that is an indicator that you are good at positioning. You are good at reading the game. You anticipate, you know where you need to be. You sniff out that ball without having to rely on actually making a tackle. But he doesn't shy away from making those tackles either. Top 26%. Aerial duels, top 30. But look at all the ball progression, the carries. He completes a lot of his passes. But again, that press resistance, the take-ons, the progressive carries, the pass receive, the shot creating actions, like all of them are top notch. Love watching this kid play. Danny says, I haven't written in my notebook like young Rios. They have Pablo Maya there. I think he's more of a 6. Yeah, this kid is absolute balling out right now. Again, excellent positioning, excellent movement, but he's also very calm, very composed when it comes to keeping the ball for a younger player, even under pressure. That's why I said press resistant. The guy is just good on the ball. And he knows how to dictate the tempo of the play. You might even say he's excellent at dictating the bond tempo. Please don't unsubscribe. I'm sorry. I won't do that again. You'd be great in a system that demands both on and off the ball work, a little bit more mobility, a little bit more someone who's got the legs, able to put in a shift in physically, but also good in delicate areas of the pitch like midfield, good at getting the ball up the pitch with these progressive play and carrying it up the pitch, which he does. Where he's able to get involved more, contribute to the initial phase, building out, I think he's going to be great. It's going to be difficult to get him out of Santos, though. He's there until 2030 contract. He's got a high release clause. And it does seem like Santos see him as a player that they can really build around for the next several years. So it's going to be difficult to get him out of there. But yeah, press resistant. You guys know I like me a press resistant midfielder. Love him. Lebcon says, with the attack we have, if we are scoring more goals, Onana won't be a problem. Onana is a problem. He just is, dude. I'll tell you a little bit more about that. I'll come back to that in a second. Yorkshire says, this jam is where we should be looking. Wilcox is hopeless. Wilcox is, it seems like Vavell is looking at like the Malian, these kind of young African players and players of that kind of the Salzburg, the Leipzig kind of the players that you're going to see those guys sign more of. Seems like Wilcox is definitely looking more at these young kind of players in and around the Premier League, in and around the Championship, in and around the academies of these. Under him, we poached a lot of young players from like Arsenal and Crystal Palace and whatnot. So I do think we also need that guy. Maybe that's something Barada can do, is that last little piece where you're able to kind of come in and get the deals done on the bigger players. But I do agree. We do need to do that. So, yeah, the progressive passes are not up there as high, but I think, again, when you keep in mind he's 20, he only just burst into the first team picture in January. And if you look at the carries, the press resistance is kind of like Cobby. Cobby doesn't have a whole lot of passing range, but on the ball, he's going to move that ball up the pitch. That's just the way. This is where you like someone like a Hackney is going to have a little bit more ball progression kind of a thing. So, see what you guys say. Yorkshire's I'm Premier League tested, but little gems are always helpful. Chicharito. Yeah, I think we've got guys like Bruno, Yoro. These guys come in and do very well. Mazraoui has done it as well. But Neil says, love me a gem. Even Valencia underrated. Well, if you guys do like the scouting reports, if you are new to the channel, we do them pretty frequently. I did put a little poll out this morning, I think, kind of asking for you guys' input on scouting reports. Do you want them like this, where we kind of include them into the stream? Do you want a whole separate stream for just scouting reports? If we do the separate stream, do you want me just to bunch them up by position so we can just do like young center midfielders to watch, young center backs to watch, or do you just not care and you don't want them anymore? It's up to you. You guys know I'm big on scouting and stuff, so always there for that. So Rob says, Fergie was at Cardiff City Stadium yesterday. Nice. I do like me some Ferguson. So there's Gabriel Bontempo. I've got more. Obviously, I've been doing scouting reports like crazy this weekend. I've got like a whole another half dozen lined up ready to go. I got one kid in here, a young little Ukrainian kid who we'll talk about next time. Croatian. So I've got a young Croatian midfielder we'll talk about in a little bit in the next video. So, but that was Gabriel Bontempo. You guys let me know what you think about that kid. Go watch Santos a little bit, see what he's all about. He came on recently and scored, coming on as a halftime sub. So I think he scored a goal. They were down and he scored, and then they end up equalizing later on. So he did kind of help lead to a turnaround in that match. So wrapping up a little bit, we do finish up our Premier League Summer Series tonight against Everton. I guess there's a trophy for this thing too. I think this is in Atlanta. Is this at Mercedes-Benz Stadium? If that's where I remember correctly, I don't know off the top of my head. I didn't realize they had tried to really turn this whole friendly preseason tour into a whole thing. They got trophies. There's like a table and stuff for this. I was like, that's so weird. Oh, God bless them. They try to make friendlies as important as they can, don't they? I think we'll be fine. I think we'll win this one. We've looked by far the best out of all four teams involved in this Premier League Summer Series. We've easily handled everybody. Everton haven't looked good. We look well drilled. We look physical. We look fit. We look ready to go. It's been confirmed that Mbeumo will get minutes against Everton. If you want to celebrate, go check out the Mbeumo shirt in the UVE store. Last day for 20% off, by the way. Just saying. But what are your score predictions for the night? Do you see anybody getting off the mark? Do we finally going to see Cheeto maybe get a goal? Maybe Mbeumo, Cunha getting involved? Neil says, don't be a Scousers, drop a like. Nice. Rob says, I like the scout reports in any format. Just have to be on EAFC. Of course they do. Did you pre-order FC 26? I almost considered today talking a little bit about some of their career mode changes that they're doing in that one, but I let it go. Y'all can do it. So Lepcon says, why is Amorim not even looking at Kone? He can play in midfield for us. Why go start looking at buying a new midfielder again? Well, Kone's probably a little too young, in my opinion, because even Collier, who's older than Kone, doesn't look ready. In my opinion, Cobby's been playing in Premier League for longer. He should not be starting. I like Kone. I want him to maybe get some minutes, but it's about what's best for him. Now, it's interesting, like on your point, Lepcon, like he was supposed to go on loan to Lausanne Sport. We nixed that after reportedly he impressed, but he hasn't really gotten a whole lot of minutes. So I'd like to see him get some minutes because I think that he probably still does need to go on loan. I think he's probably too good for Lausanne. I would have maybe sent him over to Nice or something, maybe a little higher level, or maybe someplace down in like League One or even in the Championship. Let him play in a more physical league against maybe some teams that you might be seeing in the Premier League at some point. I don't mind that. Maybe throw him at Middlesbrough as a loan in exchange for Hayden Hackney as well. We'll throw like 15 million at you, and here's Sekou Kone on loan. Like that to me is a no-brainer kind of situation. But I'm not in charge. But what are your score predictions for the night? What's Dorgu going to do? The guy was immense for us this summer. He's been really, really good. Kone is a gem, says Neil. He is a gem. You know who else is a gem? JJ Gabriel. Go watch some of those highlights from yesterday. Yorkshire says, shame we couldn't tempt Son from Spurs a few years ago. Yeah, a few years ago, yeah, absolutely lovely. If we could have sold Rashford to PSG when they wanted him, could have gotten like 100 million, could have replaced him with Heung-min Son. Chef's kiss that. Can you imagine that? Rashford, like what, 3 or 4 years ago, maybe just fresh off the back of that really good season. Before we give him that new contract, we get a big money move from PSG. We replace him with Heung-min Son because Spurs aren't going nowhere. That would have been ideal, but it is what it is. So Rob said, don't know anything about the new one. Get the pre-purchase ad when I switch the game on. Career mode info will be great. You can find them all. There's a couple. So they've added some different things to like manager mode now, things like that. So and now they've got a manager market. So managers who get sacked, you can have access to them now. So you can replace them or things like that. So kind of like players. So interesting. Danny says 3-1 United. Yeah, I think we'll handle this very easily. We look a little bit vulnerable still defensively when the opposition is able to get into our box because we look still vulnerable to balls into the box right now. Crosses, low driven crosses across the box, low driven flashes across the face. We still look vulnerable like that. We're getting beat in the air a little too easily on those situations. It'd be great if our keepers would come off their lines now and then. Go get me Sen Lammens top like 1% for crosses claim, but it is what it is. So Yorkshire says, even when we bought Sancho or Anthony, Son should have been cheaper, better, still playing for us. Yeah, I didn't think we needed to get Sancho or Anthony. It's 2 wingers, 2 seasons in a row when we had already bought the previous summer, like both Ahmad and Palestri. Like we just didn't need to do that, but I'm not in charge. So, but let me know your score predictions for the night. Will we lift our first trophy this season? This Premier League Summer Series nonsense. We've got a couple weeks left till the season kicks off. Don't forget to stop by towards the end of the transfer. We will be doing the transfer window ratings and giving our predictions. Dylan will stop by. Maybe I'll have a couple more guests too. Maybe we'll do a whole sit down thing like we did in the old days before the technology got involved. Maybe we'll go old school with it, unplugged. You guys let me know. If you weren't able to catch the live, leave a comment. You guys know I check the comments. Make sure you're liking though. Make sure you're subscribing. Make sure you're checking the memberships. And make sure you go take advantage of the 20% off. It is the last day for that sale in the United vs. Everybody store. There is a brand new design that was just uploaded today. And you saw the 9.5 shirt returned for the sale. And then the brand new Mbumo shirt. The OG green and gold is still there. You guys go check them all out. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions. Let me know what your predictions are for the night. I've yet to hear from Jarvis. He was asking me if I wanted to join him tonight. I haven't heard back from him, though. So there's a chance I could be joining in Jarvis's show tonight. So I'll let you guys know if that's going to happen. So until then, you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And wherever you're watching the game from, be safe and enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for stopping by. Later.